Welcome to Homeschooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks Master Spiritual Teacher G.P. Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the Flow of Enlightenment. Transformation is all there is. Welcome everyone to the debut of the Flow of Enlightenment. We are here with Master Spiritual Teacher G.P. Walsh and myself, student forever, Lisa Berry. And both GP and I would like to say hello and welcome and thank you everyone for opening your hearts and your spaces and your ears right now for us to share what wisdom, that GP himself is gathered along his walks on this earth. And we invite you to call in. So if you are listening and if you choose that you are the one and you are ready to hear some answers or some guidance and some clarity, we're going to invite you to call in, and the number is, one, depending on where you are, but 202-570-7057, and we will announce that number throughout the show. But we do welcome your calls in. And GP, oh my goodness, this is you. This is you sharing your wisdom and showing up, and thank you for being here with me today as well.
Oh, Lisa, thank you for so much for helping me put this together. The last time I was doing a radio show, and it did pretty well, it was like 5 years ago, and I I tried several times to get it restarted, and I just didn't find anybody to help me make it into a show. So I was so delighted when we finally met, and you were just so excited about it because you're because you're just so reserved and and held back.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a perfect thing to be able to, I really wanted to have somebody who didn't know anything about the kind of things that I teach. So the questions would be fresh, they'd be full of inspiration, and you are the perennial student.
Oh, well, thank you. And that is something I would love to share with everybody right now, is that this is why this show, The Flow of Enlightenment, is truly homeschooling for spirituality. For myself, when I met you, I would consider myself spiritual. I think we all are spiritual, and just like everybody listening, is that you can start anywhere. Transformation is all there is, but it starts at every point. And so there's not one person who couldn't tune in and begin where they are. And so thank you for making that. And we have chosen, I don't want to say I chose, but you've inspired me to come up with begin with a question I didn't realize it's the big one, but it's going to be the underlying question for all of our shows, and which is, who am I? And because where do we even start that's where I'm going to start with you right now. When one even asks themselves that question, where is it coming from? Why would anybody even want to know who they are? Why is it important?
Well, the funny thing is that if most people don't ask that. They just ask, well, how do I improve myself? Well, some people don't even ask that, right? Some people just kind of
right.
They just kind of go along, dum 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 dum, but then there's been kind of over the last 30, 40 years, there's been this kind of awakening and development of personal development and self-help and all that, spirituality, the whole New Age thing. So there's just been this ongoing inner focus, right? But it's very rare when it comes down to the point where somebody's asking, well, but who am I? Who actually am I? And that only comes after there's been a certain what I call a healthy disillusionment with the way things are. And it really becomes more, the moment you ask that question, you're on the spiritual path. You're no longer on the path of personal development. you're on the path of spirituality, because that's the heart and soul of spirituality. Who am I really? Not who I think I am, not who I was taught I was, not my beliefs, my race, my gender, my background, none of that, my family, none of that. Who am I? When I take all of that away. And that really does become the crucial question. And it's very practical, too. It's not the kind of thing that, it's a philosophical thing. No, I know, right? It's very practical because, we've learned a lot over the years about how we experience life. And we experience life through the lens of our beliefs. Well, what's the most essential belief there is but the beliefs you hold about yourself? That's what determines absolutely everything else. And you cannot experience anything outside the perimeter of your beliefs. It simply won't get in, right? And the essence of all those beliefs is the essential sense of identity, who I believe myself to be. Am I limited? Am I happy? Am I creative? Am I dumb? Am I worthwhile? Am I valuable? All of those things. And to come to the point where you actually want to know that, because it's essential to everything, that's a pivotal point. When somebody comes to me with that kind of enthusiasm, I'm just chomping at the bit. I'm salivating.
Yes. I think that, I love that who I believe myself to be. That's a big one, because you gave us a few examples there. That's actually really helpful. This is where that aspect comes from you, is when people are walking around, really that's what they're saying, where they're thinking, I'm dumb, I'm awesome, I'm a failure, I'm so accomplished, it can go into arrogance and can go into this. So we're so familiar with those beliefs. And then we are creating who we are, but do we get to even create who we are, or are we anybody before we create ourselves?
Well, the step at which you kind of create a different self-image is always a good one. Obviously, I'm not going to argue with somebody becoming more functional in life. It's the mission here isn't to make you to have you sitting in the corner chanting Om all day. There's a point at which I actually had one person as a private client once, who was a therapist, a very experienced therapist, and he'd gone through all sorts of iterations of himself and development. And then one day he realized that, what? Every time I make a better version of myself, but I'm still making a version of myself. Who am I? And that's when I got the call. Right? Because who is it that's making the different versions? Nobody can argue about improving your life and all that sort of thing. It's not about that, right? But who are you, right? If I held one belief about myself, 15 years ago, and I overcame that, and I have less limitations on my life, wonderful. But who was it that noticed that I had this limitation and I wanted to overcome it? And then who is it that chose how to go about doing that? And then who is it that's inhabiting this new life, right? That's the question that rarely gets asked, because we're so interested in the results of our inner work that we don't ask who's doing the work here? Who am I? Not who can I become, but who am I? Am I nothing but my conditioning, and therefore life is about nothing but just making better conditioning for myself? Or is there something here that is prior to and beyond the conditioning, something that's absolutely you? And you don't have to try to be that, you just are. Talk about the most effortless approach to life, to just be what you actually are. That doesn't take any work, and you don't have to improve that.
I love the word effortless. That's my kind of word.
Yeah.
It's like,
me too. Non-dual spirituality is really the lazy man's religion.
All right. I mean, again, you just keep selling me on that stuff. Well, the one thing I really notice that's so easy in this world is that we immediately know who we aren't. we immediately know when somebody says something good or bad, like, put a positive spin on this or not. When somebody says you're awesome or you're beautiful or you're perfect, you're like, no, I'm not good enough. Or they'll say, you're not nice, or you're this, and then you're like, well, no, I am. So we immediately know. Why is it so easy to know who we're not when we're still searching that question, who am I?
Well, thank goodness that we are inherently aware of who we are. We are inherently aware of it, right? Something inside simply knows, right? You see your reflection in the mirror, you don't go, who is that? Immediately you know who it is, right?
Right.
You wake up in the morning, you don't have to try to figure it out. There's a feeling of your own being. There's just a feeling of your own presence, and you recognize it. Now, we're trained to think of ourselves in different ways. If you're raised in a particular culture, some think this is right, this is wrong, right? But no, that's taught to us. We didn't decide that. We didn't choose that. But it got installed in us, and we just kind of accepted it. Really, we're not a dog. If you train the dog to, roll over and beg, it doesn't wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm really tired of rolling over and begging. I'm done with this, right? And it's like, I've been conditioned. It goes to a dog therapist and that sort of thing. They they have no inner conflict. Well, why? Because there's no sense of their own place, their own being. But as humans, we do. We feel the discomfort. We don't know where it's coming from at first, but we feel the discomfort. Something's wrong. I should be freer. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have a self-help movement. We simply wouldn't have it, right? Because nobody would have any problem with it. You'd simply be a programmable robot. But we instinctively know there's more to me than I'm allowing myself, or that I've been told. You can't explain that because it's not learned. You just know it. You can just feel it because it's true. It's your inherent being. It's the inherent freedom we all have. That's the original unconditioned you that has never quite fully accepted this version of yourself that you've been saddled with.
I love that you brought up the it's true, something to do. We're going to talk about truth, but before I do, I want to invite people again right now. If you're listening, you're thinking, yeah, I am feeling the discomfort. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it, but my inner being, who I am, is at least recognizing that I am feeling the discomfort. I want to invite you to call in because we are taking questions, and the number to do that is 202-570-7057, and that's going to take you right to the OMTimes radio station here. And we still got a couple minutes before commercial break, and GP, there's something that you said to me when we first started talking, and it rocked my world, and it was so easy. Again, this effortless thing. It's about, you said something, if you could repeat it or help everybody else hear this, about if it's true, it must be true for all. Otherwise, it's not. You had this beautiful way of saying that. Do you remember what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
If something is true, right? We had a lot of arguments about truth. This is true. This is the right way to have politics, the right way for economic system. This is the right way to live. This is morally right. This is morally wrong. We have all sorts of arguments about that. And those can go on forever, right? But if you notice that those shift, right? They're culturally based, particularly religious view, a particular cultural view, a particular economic view, and so they're shifting, right? So they're not really truths, they're beliefs. And what's truth? Well, when I use the word truth, I mean that which is absolutely true. It's true at all times. It's true in all places. It's self-existent, and it doesn't depend on you believing it, right? 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't matter whether I believe that or not, right? The earth is round. It doesn't matter whether I believe that or not. It's just the truth. And nothing's going to change that. Beliefs, on the other hand, require me to believe them in order to have any kind of activity. And that's why the spiritual path is always out of belief and into truth. What is the actual truth? That's what we want to discover. Not what we think it is or what our group has thought is, but to find a way to transcend our cultural biases about it, to get what's actually true. And the same thing, again, to bring it home, is about you. The beliefs you hold about yourself, they are beliefs because they're not true. Well, what is the truth about you? Eternal, unchanging, self-verifying, self-luminous. That's the, was that what I was talking about with you? Or did I go off on something else?
No, that was absolutely perfect. And a fun little aha moment for me in there, and I'll share that. But I love that. A truth does not depend on you believing it. That was one for people who are taking notes. I love that one. And also, too, I had a beautiful picture of a spiritual path. And what does that look like? And that you said a spiritual path is out of belief and into truth. And so just as we head into commercials, I want to share with people that this question of who I am, who am I, who I am, is the truth of who you are. And when we come back, are going to be continuing this very enlightened conversation, but bringing in it all the questions that come up in our daily lives that we are looking for truth around. So please join us when we come back on GP Walsh here, of course, on the Flow of Enlightenment.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
I'm Fidel Nshambo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the Flow of Enlightenment. I'm here, Lisa Berry, with GP Walsh. And so many questions are coming up for me right now. I've got to pace myself for everybody listening. And I just want to make that invitation again to call in with your questions. And some questions that you might be, nothing is off limits here. This is about you really understanding which steps you're taking along your path, along your spiritual path. And we're going to be talking about this and to be effortless, yes, but the least amount of pain and this uncomfortability. And isn't that so true? That's what you've been helping me with as I've been going through this with you. And I just want to announce that number. It's 202-570-7057. It's funny whenever I say O and zero in the same thing. It's a letter and a number. You go. But GP, about this pain and why somebody might call in is, as we walk along in who am I? And I know I'm not that, but wow, my beliefs are this about me and I want to change them. I do want to bring up the word transformation because it's right in our, transformation is all there is. How do we handle it when we think, well, if who I really am is who I really am, why am I transforming at all? Why is there transformation if who I am is always the truth and always there? What is transforming?
Well, the wonder of all of this is that Boy, sometimes I don't know exactly how deep to go. It depends on who
You
I'm
go right
talking
deep.
to. But but the nature of our existence is really twofold, right? There's this unchanging background that's absolutely you, that is absolutely changeless, formless, nameless, infinite, limitless, has no boundaries whatsoever, and can't even be conceived of. I mean, how do you think about the infinite? You can't, right? That's your nature, right? But that infinite nature isn't static. It isn't just sitting there. It expresses itself constantly in form, right? So, I mean, what would love mean if there was no expression of love, right? And now there's an infinite way of expressing love, isn't it? Kindness and the family kind of love. There's romantic love and intimate love. There's the love of your work. There's the love of music. It's all love. We identify it all as love because it's all the same thing, and yet it's all different. This is the mystery of being, of how it can be absolutely constant and changeless, and yet at the same time constantly expressing itself in an infinite number of forms. But those forms are never static. Think about your body. In the time you and I have just had this little conversation, several million cells have died, and several million, and been replaced by several million new ones.
Yes.
The body is a constantly replenishing thing. The atoms never sit still. It is some on very short cycles, and some on very, very long cycles, but nothing is actually is ever the same. In the time it took me to say that sentence, everyone listening, you are not the same person you were. That is simply the fact. Nothing sits still. Just our way of perceiving things, and the fact that our minds really want to have something that, I really want to hold on to this, right?
Yeah.
But we try to hold on to what's changing instead of holding on to what's changeless. You hold on to what's changeless, you're good.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? Nothing's going to, but if you try to hold on to that which is changeful by nature, well, you're going to create misery for yourself because the impermanence will bite you.
Oh my
Another
gosh,
good
that was
metaphor
so good.
for it is music and the song, right? Try to describe what music is without humming a tune. You can't do it.
Right.
So you can look, every piece of music you've ever heard is music, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Yet music, try to define music all by itself, and you can't do it because it's infinite. It has no boundaries on it. And yet it is completely and totally reflected in one single song, but it's never confined to it. This is you. This is your nature. Your nature is infinite and changeless, but it manifests itself in an infinite number of ways. So, you're not the same person you were when you were 10 years old or 20 years old or 30 or keep going until you get to my age. Which one of those were you? Well, all of them and none of them. This is where non-duality gets that strange, obtuse language, because it's trying to describe that which is beyond what language can describe. You cannot describe music in its entirety. You can only hum a tune and dance a little bit.
Right. Yes. That's actually. Oh my gosh. I'm getting excited because right. What does cause us so much pain or suffering or separation is I love what you said. I'll do it in a positive here. Hold on to what is changeless, not what's changing. And when we try to hang on to the things like, oh, I'm getting old, or this is actually, it's funny the way you said about something that's the same but different, like ourselves. I was like, yes, because I have the same hair, but today it's up in a ponytail and yesterday it was down. It's just, that's so practical. But we do, it does create some pain. So what would be, somebody's walking around, probably you and I even, and we're hanging on to something that is changing. Why do we hang on to things that are constantly changing and expecting them to stay still, to not change?
Ignorance. We just don't know. Right? We've all been taught that this is the way it's supposed to be, and so we hang on to things. We try to make the permanent or the impermanent to the permanent. Now that's kind of a fool's errand.
Yes.
I mean that's what Buddha defined as suffering, trying to make the impermanent permanent. You can't do it. If you want to be happy, you have to anchor your happiness. If you want to be happy permanently, you need to anchor your happiness in that which doesn't change. If you want your happiness to fluctuate and go up and down, well, you anchor it in that which is changing. And then, of course, people get very angry, right? Because now things are changing. They think they're not supposed to change, and they start getting angry with people they think are trying to change it, right?
Yes.
and we start beating ourselves up when basically, you're trying to hold on to smoke. You can't do it.
That's so funny. I actually imagine people trying to do that. Well, there you go. That's actually quite a thing. So when they say, people say it all the time, well, it's what is going on is meant to be, or we are where we're supposed to, we are where we are. We're meant to be there. Some people really do get angry about that. They're like, well, I don't really like that. Are you sure this is where I'm supposed to be? This is really? How can we justify, how can we be okay with those things when they don't feel so good? Or don't agree with them?
Well, that's kind of the spiritual discipline of it, and it does take a while to make that kind of transition, and to do it really with wisdom, so you actually find the true middle way, because some people will do that, and it's really just sour grapes, right? They're still quite bitter about it. Yeah, it's God's will, and grumble, right?
And they're giving the finger to God behind their back. No,
that's right. That's right. Right? Or they're trying to. I'm going to be really spiritual now. Oh yeah, everything, it is what it is, right? But they don't really believe it, right? Because if you really believed it, there's a sense of freedom, and a sense of simply allowing yourself to go with the flow, and it's not that you don't. Well, the other direction people go into is indifference. Oh, it doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. It's and that's not true either. The fact that everything is impermanent, that it is going to change, doesn't make you indifferent. It makes you appreciative. Because this moment is never going to happen again. What could be more precious and rare than that? And if you really felt that, every moment would be a celebration. And of course, if somebody you love goes out of your life for whatever reason, you're going to feel the grief of it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you know that it's inevitable that's going to happen, would you argue with your lover if you knew that tomorrow they're be gone?
Yeah.
You wouldn't. You'd say, no, that's not important. What's important is this moment, right here, right now. And so it doesn't make you indifferent to this moment. It makes you so present with this moment that you begin to feel the real juice of life. That is right here, right now, always. But we don't see it because our minds are racing into the future or holding on to the past.
Yes.
And that's all it is. Trying to hold on to the impermanent is just holding on to the past. It's gone. Right?
Yeah,
right
holding on
now.
to smoke. That was
holding on to
perfect.
smoke. Yeah.
I did a video. If you saw it on Facebook, or you need to see it, go onto my Facebook page, Lisa Berry, and watch it's just a 2-minute video sharing about the show, The Flow of Enlightenment. And it starts off by talking about eternal happiness. And what I just heard, from you there is yes, eternal happiness is a feeling of freedom and being appreciative, and how to celebrate every moment. It's a celebration. You said something there really, really cool. A spiritual discipline with wisdom. So we can take on spiritual disciplines. Okay, I'm signing up for this course and I'm doing this, but if you are lacking this wisdom, then it's going to be a different road. And I would like to take this opportunity to ask you, you have students, you've had hundreds of students, and just so the listeners get to know a little bit about you in this part. When students come to you, is that where they might be? Is like they're starting off saying, I would like to take on this discipline or commit to it, and then they gain the wisdom? Or how do you operate with your students in this way?
Wisdom isn't gained, it's awakened.
Oh.
Yeah. The beauty of this is you don't need to get anything. You've already got it. You just don't know it.
Wow.
We're dispelling ignorance. You know, the word guru, that's what it means. The word guru is a Sanskrit word, and it means one who dispels darkness.
Who dispels?
No, it's not the guy in the saffron colored robe, you know. Oh no, Krishna consciousness, you see. It's nothing like that. That's kind of an image that we've gotten, or somebody who is wise. It's simply one who is pulling back the veil from your eyes so you see your own inherent wisdom, your own inherent beauty, your own inherent intelligence, which has been simply veiled by our ignorance, by believing ourselves to be someone we're not.
Wow. That is
It's the truth of you, remember? If it's the truth, it's true now, right? Not 10 minutes from now, not 2 years from now, not at the end, you know, after 30 years of meditating 8 hours a day. Now.
Right.
So I love the Zen approach. The Zen approach is sudden enlightenment, not postponed. Because if it's the truth, it's not the result of a process. Because if it's the result of some kind of process, like I do 30 years and then I get enlightenment, if it's a result of that, then it too has a cause, which means it had a beginning, which means it's not the truth.
Oh,
So
wait,
it's the
wait,
truth now.
wait. The truth doesn't have a
Okay.
beginning. Is that what sorry. Ah!
Yes.
The student's catching up. The truth doesn't have a beginning. Oh, I remember you saying that one time now. Yes. That's so cool. Is that how should we walk through life going, oh, is that true? Is that true? Like, should we take stock of truths?
Well, I think the good habit to get into is, and it's not, is this true? Is this true? It's like, that can become a thing in itself, right?
Yes.
We don't want any creating any more things. But there's a very natural, as wisdom and love, which are really just, brother and sister, they're two sides of the same coin. As they awaken in someone, there's a natural inquiry that begins to take place. Right? Why do I believe this is true? Well, I believe this is true because, I've got these underlying beliefs about myself. Well, where do those beliefs come from? Well, if I take all those beliefs away, what's left? Because if I'm true, I can't take me away. But if I can take this away, well, then it was only a belief. It wasn't really the truth. If I can take it away, if I can get rid of it, it's not true. Can't be. So what's left? I take everything away. Just everything. Just boom. Discard this, and this. Because I can. If I can, then I do. Right? Now, this doesn't mean you walk around discarding everything in your life. Right? We're talking about an internal inquiry, right? And that internal inquiry will reflect itself in how you live your life. But the internal inquiry is, well, what remains? Right? Well, there's one thing for sure you can't throw away, and that's you. So when you have completely dispossessed yourself of everything that isn't you, what remains is you. And that's why it seems like such a strange thing, a strange path to be just disposing of things. But you're not. You're just kind of, okay, well, that's not really the truth. It's a relative truth, right? Which is good, we all agree that we should stop at red lights. It's a good thing to do, right? Is it the absolute truth that a red light means you should stop? No. It's a convention we've agreed to. It's useful. It's helpful, right? And, it keeps us from running into each other. It's a good thing, but it's not the absolute truth.
Is an emotion a truth? So if I was scared, is that something that I would discard, or is that just an awareness of a state that I'm in that's creating a belief about myself if I stay there too long?
Well, those are very interesting ones, because when we're talking about everyday life and just interacting with everyday life, a fear that arises out of a projection into the future or a memory of the past isn't real, because it doesn't actually have a cause here and now. It is imagined, right?
Right.
And this is the cause of 99% of our fears. We're afraid of what might happen, and we're afraid of something that might happen happening again. Now, neither of those are happening. right?
Right. Okay, yes, yeah.
But because they might, right? We live in a state of kind of this low-grade fear over what might happen, which means we never actually feel safe in this moment, even though we are. And that's the big delusion, right? Now, fear is a very natural function of the body. You know, if that saber-toothed tiger is chasing me, fear is really quite the right thing to be feeling. And all fear is, if you really look at it physiologically, it is simply the body which is focusing all of its energy and attention on getting the hell out of Dodge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it has to. The body is protecting itself. Right? And so it's perfectly natural. But if you look at animals, what happens, you know, watch a cat, you know, little Zen masters, they're great.
Yes, they are.
You watch a cat when it's threatened by something, right? Yeah. It's all in, right? The back's up, making these noises that like would scare soldiers, right?
Yes.
And then you know the danger passes. 2 minutes later, you'll see them sitting in the sun, licking themselves. Complete. But if they were a human, they'd go, "Oh God, that was terrible. I don't want that ever happen again. What can I do? How can I avoid it? I'm going to take martial art lessons or something."
Yeah, or tell the story over and over so everybody else knows how scared they were.
Yes, that's right. And so we perpetuate it in the mind, and thus we keep that energy in the body. That energy that should simply just discharge, as it does for animals, hangs around in us. And by the way, the name for that is trauma.
Well, I would love to take this opportunity to, we're going to sneak away to commercial breaks, but if anybody is experiencing trauma and would like to be more like a Zen cat, then please call in at 202-570-7057 into the OMTimes radio station so that you could ask how we could help you out with any low-grade fear of what might be happening is causing you some stress on the Flow of Enlightenment. But we'll be right back with GP Walsh.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from New Thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Oh, welcome back to the debut. It's our first show of the Flow of Enlightenment. Oh, it feels nice. It really does feel good. And we basically we'll welcome you to homeschooling for spirituality. And in so we'd like to take a moment here to thank our sponsor, our big time sponsor
absolutely.
here.
Oh my God.
And that's actually
such a help.
and how we came together, actually, GP and myself. We met because of iAwesome, which is the International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery. And we are sponsored by iAwesome. And they are iAwesome offering a space for people to connect with metaphysical concepts in an educational system supported by a social and community-based environment, with encouragement, empowerment, integrity, and love being the foundation of their online setting. They invite you to become a student today for free up until launch date, woohoo, which is Thursday, October 29th. So you guys can get like 2.5 weeks here in for free to check us out, because iAwesome, we'll talk about them. But yeah, just I'm grateful for Awesome. If all that was, I just met you, GP.
Well, it's true, and I have several courses I'm putting up there as part of that as well, because I really like the, and it's why I really like them and I'm mentioning them on the show, because I do believe in what they're doing, enough that I'm actually participating in it. So. Right. Yes. Yeah. I hope many people find your courses there, and in saying that you have courses there, because you are a teacher and you love this and you've been doing this for quite some while. That's why you're a master spiritual teacher. And we have a caller on the line. Brian, who has called in, and GP, if you'd like to, let you take it from here and accept the question and deliver some wisdom, or not wisdom, deliver some responses. Yeah, by all means, put Brian on. Hello, Brian.
Hey, G.
Dude. Oh, wow. Fantastic. Yeah.
I'm having a flashback, but anyway.
I recognize your voice. It's been about like 5 years since I've actually been on a radio show where I've taken callers. So so good to hear your voice, man. What is on your mind?
Well, actually, of course, most everything I was thinking about, you guys have been over while I was on hold. So we have beliefs and truth and emotions. But I would like to maybe delve into one aspect just a little bit more about the emotion part. So back in May, my dog had to be put to sleep. And he was honestly like he was Yoda. I mean, like, we would just have these conversations back and forth, and he always knew what I was thinking. I always knew what he was thinking. And when he left, it was this big void that I've had. Yeah. And I still feel it. I mean, it's been like 5 months, and just last week I had a meltdown over it. 2 weeks before I had a meltdown over it. And I mean, I probably, didn't cry for a month or two in between those, but the emotional release part, I'm presuming that's a good thing just because it's pent up energy. But I don't know. I feel like, okay, it should, it happened. It was 5 months ago. I should be kind of moving on, except, when I go for walks or when something happens and I just think, man, I really wish Bacchus were here, or we used to do this, and I know it's the same thing like with, a person, like if they die or something and you kind of go down memory lane and you're living in the past essentially, but the emotional release of that is still a good thing if it's there, I would imagine. Yes?
Yes. Well, you're not living in the past, right? You're living in the present. If you're living in the past, you wouldn't be feeling it. You're feeling it in the present. We either make too much or too little of these things. We think, oh, I should be over it. Well, who said you should be over it? Right? When you're in a very intimate relationship, whether it be with a person or a dog, or a piece of art you had in your house that you tripped over and knocked it over, there's an energy circuit that gets created. That's what a relationship is. There's this flow, right? And we get, when someone or something or some animal comes into our life, it all begins to form together and makes this, your whole energy system, your whole nervous system accommodates it, and also becomes used to it, becomes dependent upon it, We think it's always it's going to be there, and so this thing gets created. Now, when something is lost, as precious as a pet that you're really close to, that entire cycle is broken, right? And the energy system or the nervous system has to basically readjust itself. It has to reorganize itself into the new world, which it will, right? The feeling that of that, as it is adjusting, is what we call grief, and it has to be felt. Now, you could be in such a position where, when you're at home, you're doing your stuff, the grief is processed, you're good, it's recycled, and now it becomes just a sweet memory. But you take a walk, you go past, a favorite tree you used to like to pee on or something, right? And so a whole new aspect of it, right, is there. Now, does that mean you're not over it? No, it just means that it's been so intertwined into your whole life, right, that all the different places where that needs to reconnect itself needs to be discovered. So it could be 10 years later, and suddenly these tears will well up. Well, let them well up. Don't start thinking there's something wrong.
There we go.
You're echoing back there, Brian.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
I missed part of that for some reason. It cut off, but okay. Yes.
Okay. Lisa, did everybody else hear me?
I heard you, but
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that I didn't get cut off.
Yeah.
So
the intertwine, you're kind of at the thing of where it's so intertwined that the grief takes time to readjust
it
and
takes time. It can happen all at once, or it can kind of unfold over time. You just let it. When the feeling comes up, you let it be there. You let the tears come, right? You let the sadness be there. And if you completely surrender to it and allow it to happen, that's all it takes to process it for that particular circumstance. And you may walk past something that was familiar to you, and that it had meaning and value to you because you experienced it with the one that it's no longer there. And so the meaning of it, and it can be a tree, it could be a statue, it could be someplace you happen to walk, a storefront or something. All sorts of things have all these wonderful emotional associations with us, for us. And when the loved one is gone, that association is still there, and the nervous system requires some time to be able to readjust itself to this experience without that. So it's very gentle. If you're very gentle, it's very natural. We don't need to make up any kind of story. Don't let anybody tell you, dude, get over it. I mean, don't listen to that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Unless you're holding on to the story, right? As long as you're willing to let him go, let Bacchus go. Great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Then you are. I felt that way. I had a cat that actually used to say my name, and I wasn't tripping. Several other people heard it too. Several other people. And she'd go, Greg. And they go, did she just say your name? I go, yes, she did. And she was with me for 17 years.
Oh my gosh.
Man, it was just, it was hard, right? And there were times when, months later I'd run into something where, oh God, Whitney, where are you? And it would just kind of come up for a second, and that's just that moment where you can just let go. And you just wish him Godspeed. God knows, I'm sure she's a human now, this time. She was ready. She was trying to talk, for crying out loud.
Or maybe it was left over from before.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe she came back just to take care of me.
Yeah,
and
that's
they do
how
that.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you so much for bringing that to so many people. I'm a huge animal person, so I'm, first of all, really appreciative of your question, because so many of us, even if it might be in the future, we're thinking, what am I going to do when they pass? And I really appreciate you bringing that to us, and then for GP sharing that with us. It says, we have some readjustment to take, and we don't know how long it will take, but let's do it in a way that's very honoring to ourselves and to our friendship. That I love that you said, GP, that relationship is a circuit. It's an energy circuit. And so just give that time to the system to readjust and program. So, Brian, you're doing the right thing here.
As long as we
Good.
allow
I
it
actually
to
don't ever
happen.
recall hearing the question either. So, yeah.
As long as we allow it to happen, we totally surrender to it.
Yeah.
As with most everything else, I guess that makes sense. So, yes. But I
As long as you
appreciate
completely
it.
surrender to it, it will happen at exactly the right tempo. It could be very, very fast, or it can be spread out. It doesn't matter as long as you're surrendered to it.
Yeah, and I guess there's also this thing that if I get over it, or not get over it, but if I make peace with it and not honoring, like if I don't hurt, there's like this belief that if I don't hurt, then I'm not remembering him well enough or something.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Which is nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense. Yeah.
But there's all that.
And that's our way of avoiding grief. That's just the mind's way of avoiding grieving. Yeah.
You may you may transcend that feeling once you meet peace. That may not even be there. That belief, that story.
Yeah, and the other beautiful thing is you'll find that they've not gone anywhere at all. They're still quite here. The form's gone, but the essence is still quite here.
Yep.
Well,
appreciate that.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much for calling in. That was beautiful.
Brian in Virginia. That's how I know him. It was always Brian in Virginia.
We'll have to say that next time. You can call in anytime, Brian. Well, as we continue in our last 5 little minutes here, that question was so beautiful to relate back to hanging on to smoke. I'm still going to remember that as this show episode because that's where the pain is sometimes hanging on to something that is supposed to change. It's supposed to change, and that was so beautiful. And oh gosh, of course that. So I love animals so much. That was like an awesome thing for me. And the flow of enlightenment and transformation is all there is. It really says a lot. I can feel this, GP, as we continue to join everybody every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, that everything will be continuously along this transformation. And we always invite people to call in and ask a question to help along their way of transformation, along their spiritual path. And GP, is there some closing remarks? Because we do have 3 or 4 minutes. Not closing remarks, but something that people can walk away with that. Who am I? Beginner steps in this non-duality and the self-inquiry process that they could begin.
Well, what I urge people to do, even before you get into the kind of the inquiry of I'm not this, I'm not that. So I remember telling you that if you could perceive it, it can't be you, and you just kind of you were just jumped all over it. For a lot of people, that's kind of distant. So the best place to start is it's kind of a meditation. I call it meditation, but it isn't meditation like is normally done. Normally, there's some kind of focus or intention behind meditation, right? You focus on an object, you focus on your breath, you focus on a candle, right? There are various kinds of ways of doing it. You tune into your body, and also for intention. I want to lose some stress. I want to manifest something. But what I invite people to do is to simply try to turn your attention inward and just feel the sense of your own being. Simple as that. There's no intention behind it. We're not here to do anything, change anything, fix anything, get better at all. We're just the practice of simply feeling and experiencing yourself in this moment with nothing extra added. Just you. To just feel. Now, for me, I will just have them start with just first put your attention in your body. Notice your breath, slow it down, put your attention in your body. And then notice that no matter what's filling your attention, whether it be some sensation in your body or your breathing, that there's something else there that's aware of it. Because, thoughts don't think themselves, emotions don't feel themselves. Sensations don't sense themselves. And thoughts, emotion, and sensation are always coming and going, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're part of the changeless. But notice that there's something aware of all of those, and it isn't changing. In fact, look back on your entire life, and it's always been there. Well, that's you. That's the real you. That's the you that is the changeless part.
I love that. Well, here's a good invitation. Would the real you please stand up? Is what they say. and on that, GP, could you just remind everybody? I'm going to invite them and then remind them of where to go. We would love for you to be a part of our list. It's a fun list. It's not like your regular mailing list. It's a list that says, we're going to let you know when we're on and what we're doing next. And GP, is that at gpwalsh.com/FOE?
FOE, yep.
Yes, got it. FOE, everybody. Flow of Enlightenment. So pop on over there and get on the list so we can share with you what we're doing and send these invitations out, or find either one of us on Facebook, GP Walsh, or Lisa Berry, Berry. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. Thank you, GP.
Thank you all. Love you all.
We'll see you next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern.